Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. 502 Model College for Girls. 9th class, I hope you are fine. Today is our third lecture of English. Unit number 8, Stopping by Words on a Snowy Evening. Today we are going to do the paraphrasing and textual questions of this poem. So let's read the poem. Whose words these are, I think I know. His house is in the village though. He will not see me stopping here to watch his words fill up with snow. My little horse must think it queer to stop without a farmhouse near. Between the woods and frozen lake, the darkest evening of the year. He gives his harness bells a shake to ask if there is some mistake. The only other sounds the sweep of easy wind and downy flake. The woods are lovely, dark and deep, but I have promises to keep, and miles to go before I sleep, and miles to go before I sleep. This poem, Stopping by Words on a Snowy Evening, is written by the poet Robert Frost. He has written this poem when he was returning home. On the way, he passes through woods and wonders who owns these woods, and then realizes that he knows the owner. So let's start the paraphrasing of this poem. Stanza number 1. Whose woods these are, I think I know. His house is in the village though. He will not see me stopping here to watch his woods fill up with snow. Paraphrasing. The poet reaches the snowy woods. It is dark woods. Woods look very attractive. The poet stops there. He wonders about the master of these woods. Meanwhile, he sums up his memory. Then he comes to know that he is familiar with the owner of the woods. He lives in a nearby village in a small house. The poet knows that he will not come to see his woods, so it is a chance for the poet to enjoy a visit of the woods. In the first stanza, the poet says that when he reaches the snowy woods, it was dark and woods looked very attractive. The poet thought that the owner of the woods is not here, so it is the best chance for the poet to stop over there. At the same time, the poet feels that the owner would not get into trouble for staying there and enjoying the snowfall. Although he knows the owner lives in a nearby village in a small house, but at the same time he thinks that he will not come to see the woods, so the poet thinks that it is the best chance for the poet to enjoy a visit of the woods. The poet is also accompanying a horse with him, and at that time the poet is enjoying the snowfall, and he is captivated by the beauty of the woods so much that he makes up his mind that he should stay over there. Although he was only passing through from the woods, but at that moment when he was attracted by the woods, he makes up his mind that he is going to stay over here. My little horse must think it queer to stop without a farmhouse near. Between the woods and frozen lake, the darkest evening of the year. Paraphrasing. The poet analyzes that his little horse is thinking it strange to stop in the middle of traveling without any objective or reason. The horse feels no one inside, no farmhouse nearby, and no source of living present there. The poet and his little horse are together feeling very severe cold between woods and frozen lake. Perhaps it is their bitterest and darkest evening of the year. In the second stanza, the poet thinks that as he is accompanying his horse, he thinks that his horse must be thinking it very strange to stop in the middle of the traveling, and it is dark as well and no farmhouse nearby. The poet and his little horse are chilling between the woods and the frozen lake. So the poet is attracted by the woods. That is why he has made up his mind to stop over there. But the poet thinks that his horse must be thinking it very strange. What is the purpose of staying in the middle of traveling without any objective, without any reason? So the poet and his little horse are chilling between the woods and a frozen lake. Perhaps this is their bitterest or the darkest evening of the year. He thinks that his horse must think it strange to stay there in the woods on the darkest night of the year, just because there is no farmhouse near them, because it is called the darkest evening of the year because they pass it through the woods and there isn't any farmhouse over there so that they could stay over there. That is why the poet thinks that his horse must be thinking it strange to stop in the woods on the darkest night of the year, as there is no farmhouse near them. So this is their darkest or the bitterest evening of the year. Stanza 3. He gives his herder's bells a shake to ask if there is some mistake. The only other sounds the sweep of easy wind and downy flake. Paraphrasing. The horse is losing his power in this condition. He shakes his harness bells to get attention of his master and to ask either they have done something wrong or there is some problem to move on. The horse wanted to know the reason of stopping there, but there is no response other than the sounds of slight wind and falling snowflakes. As the horse is thinking it very strange that why his master has stopped in the middle of traveling without any purpose, without any reason, and it is very cold and the night has also approached. So what is the purpose of staying here? So the horse, as the poet has already perceived, that he shakes his harness bells to indicate his intention. The horse actually wants to ask the poet if it is a mistake to stay here in such frosty conditions. There is quite all around. The horse does not get any response from his master. There is quite all around. The only sound apart from the harness bell is that of cold wind and soft flakes of snow that could be heard over there. So the horse does not get any answer, any response from his master. The sound that could be heard other than the harness bell is that of cold wind and soft flakes of snow which is falling. Stanza 4. The woods are lovely, dark and deep, but I have promises to keep, and miles to go before I sleep, and miles to go before I sleep. Paraphrasing. The poet confesses that he is fascinated by the beauty of the dark, snowy woods, but he has to do many important things. He has to perform many duties. He has to get a long way before taking rest. He has to cover miles before going to bed. At last, he continues on his way, realizing his duties or responsibilities at home. As in the very beginning of the stanza, the poet is attracted by the woods, by the beauty of nature. But now the poet has realized that he has some duties, he has some obligations which he has to perform, which he is supposed to do it. He is attracted by the beauty of the nature, but at the same time there is also world of reality in which he has to perform his duties. And he has to maintain a balance between world of beauty and world of imagination. and world of reality. What is world of beauty or imagination? That is woods. And what is world of reality? That he has to get back to his work. So the poet says that the woods are lovely, dark and deep. He wants to stay over there to relish this beauty amid the cold dark night, but cannot help leaving the place for the responsibilities that he has to fulfill. So the poet in the last stanza says that although he is attracted by the beauty of the woods, but at the same time he has many responsibility and he has to travel miles before he goes to sleep. Thus the prospect of long journey pulls him out of the dark silvery beauty of the woods, and he starts his journey because he has simply made up his mind that he has some obligations, he has some duties to perform, and he has to maintain a balance between world of reality and world of imagination. Okay students, now we are going to do comprehension of the poem, that is textual questions. Question 1. Who is the speaker in the poem? The poet is the speaker himself. He speaks as first person and is also a rider of the horse. This poem has been written by Robert Frost. The poet is the speaker of the poem. He speaks in the poem. So he is the first person as the pronoun I is used for the speaker, and the speaker is the poet, and this speaker or this poet is also a rider of the horse. Question 2. Whom does the speaker refer to in the first stanza of the poem? In the very first stanza of the poet refers to the owner of the woods he is passing through. The Robert Frost, when he was returning home, on the way he passes through woods and then realizes that he knows the owner of the woods. At the same time, when he is attracted by the woods, stays over there, but he knows who is the owner of the woods that he is passing through, and he knows that the owner lives in a village and is not here and he will not come over here. And at the same time the poet feels that he won't get into trouble for staying there and enjoying the snowfall. First of all, he is not going to come over here. The poet knows this, and he also knows that the owner lives in the same village, but he is not going to come over here. So, and this is the best chance for the poet to enjoy the beauty of the woods. So the poet makes up his mind and stays over there. Question 3. Why does the speaker stop on the darkest evening of the year? The beauty of the woods on a snowy evening has so much charm in it for the poet or the speaker that he cannot help stopping there. The beauty of the deep, dark and lovely woods fascinated the poet or the speaker, and he was forced to stop over there for some time to enjoy the beauty of the woods. The poet likes the beauty of the woods, and he says that woods are lovely, dark and deep, and he was attracted by the woods so much that on the spot he makes up his mind that he is not going anywhere. He is going to stop over there. He is going to stay over there. And he also acknowledges the fact that he has many responsibilities to fulfill, to do, to perform. So the poet says that although the beauty of the deep, dark and lovely woods are there, and he is fascinated by the beauty of the birds, but at the same time he says that he has some responsibilities, he has some obligations, and he makes up his mind and starts his journey. So he was forced to stop over there for some time, not for the whole time that he stays over there. He stops only for some time and enjoys the beauty of the woods. Question 4. Why does the horse impatiently awaits the next move of his master? The horse thinks it strange to stop in the woods on the darkest evening of the year, and he feels it a mistake of his master and awaits the next move which should be carrying on the journey. The horse is also afraid of prevailing dark and severe cold weather. There was no reason for the horse to stop over there. So why does the horse impatiently awaits the next move of his master? The poet and the horse both are going through the woods, and in the middle of the traveling, the poet or the speaker or the rider of the horse makes up his mind that he is attracted by the woods and he wants to stay over there. At the same time, the horse thinks it very strange to stop in the middle of the traveling without any purpose, without any reason. At that moment, he wants to know the reason of staying over there. That is why he shakes his harness bells and asks his master if there is some mistake to move on. What is the problem that they are not carrying on their journey? That is why he impatiently awaits and gets the attention of his master by ringing his harness bells. But the poet does not give him any response. So the horse impatiently awaits the next move of his master. The horse is also afraid of prevailing dark and severe cold weather. The poet and the horse are chilling between the woods and a frozen lake, and the horse thinks that it must be a mistake to stay in such a frosty condition, that if they are going to stay over there, that must be a mistake to stay here in such a frosty condition. And there was no reason for the horse to stop over there. There was not reason to stay over there, and the horse does not get any response from the master side, and there is quiet all around over there. Question 5. The speaker in the poem is captivated by the beauty of nature. Why doesn't he stop for long to enjoy nature's beauty? As we know that the poet does not stop for long because he has many other responsibilities of life to perform. Although the poet has at the very beginning of the poem has made up his mind that he is going to stay over there, although it was very cold, the weather was very cold, severe cold rather, but the poet was attracted by the beauty of the nature. In the last stanza of the poem, the poet sings that although he is attracted by the beauty of the nature, but there is also a world of reality, and he has to maintain a balance between world of reality and world of imagination. He was attracted by the woods, that is why he has made up his mind to stay over there. But when he remembers his duties, his assignments, his obligations, then at that moment he makes up his mind that he should get back to his work, he should start on his journey. So he wants to maintain a balance between his love for nature and duties. This is world of reality and world of imagination. His love for nature is world of imagination, world of beauty, and duties is world of reality. He again starts moving when he remembers his duties and long journey. So the poet makes up his mind and starts his journey, although he is attracted by the dark, frosty woods of beautiful nature. But at the same time, he thinks that he should carry on with the daily affairs of life. So the poet remembers his duties and long journey and starts his journey. So what we learned from this poem: stopping by woods on a snowy evening, poet is stopping by the woods with a tired longing, pauses to appreciate its beauty. So the poet at the very beginning of the poem, as soon as he reaches there, he makes up his mind that he is going to stay over there, and he stays over there and enjoys the beauty of the nature. So for a little moment he stays over there. It is good to slow down and stop for a little bit and observe and appreciate what is around you. So it is very necessary that we must appreciate the beauty of the nature, because nature is all around us. The Wordsworth has also said that we should go and observe the nature, because nature is all around us, but we do not find time to appreciate the beauty of the nature. But Robert Frost has made up his mind that he is going to enjoy the beauty of the nature. Woods are lovely, dark and deep, but at the same time he wants to fulfill his duties, he wants to perform his task as well. That is why at the end of the poem he makes up his mind that he should carry on his journey. He is not going to stay over there for a long time. He has made up his mind and start his journey. So it is really very good to stop at some place, appreciate the beauty of the nature, because nature has so much to offer. So students, you have a little home assignment. What you are supposed to do: you are supposed to learn and write paraphrasing of stanzas, learn comprehension exercise as well. You have 5 questions of comprehension. You are supposed to learn them all and learn the paraphrasing of stanzas, and this work you are supposed to do it in your NEET registers. Okay students, thank you all. Stay home, stay safe, and Allah Hafiz.